win today under the Bruno Lage era, and it was Patrick Cutrone. I didn't think I'd be saying that. I didn't even think he'd play a game for the club again, but it was an interesting game. It was way more interesting than the Crew game for me personally. It felt like it had a bit more pace. It felt like more of a competitive game, and obviously that's down to having better opposition as well. But you want to see this, every time you play a preseason game, you want, every game to get a bit better, look a bit fitter and kind of see what the manager's trying to do. And it's basically the same side, but with Morgan Gibbs White a bit further forward and Gianmartino coming in, which I think Morgan Gibbs White just looks more natural there. It was nice having Gianmartino back. The first half was a bit boring. It was very attritional. Both sides kind of cancelled each other out. I thought Taylor Perry kind of struggled a bit, as did Trincao. That kind of right side in general kind of, looked a bit lethargic. And when Neves, Luke Cundle, surprisingly, and Nelson Semedo came on, it looked a bit more natural. Obviously, Bolly came off as well, which is a bit of a concern. It's kind of becoming a bit of a regular thing now. And I'll speak about Gerson Mosquera later, but it feels like we kind of have to find a long-term Bolly replacement now. He's becoming unreliable, and as harsh as it is, we probably need to move on. But first half was a bit boring. The linesman was terrible. Probably should have had a goal, but it was what it was. I think the second half we learned a lot more. Obviously, Jose Sarr made his debut. We kind of went more to a back five. Obviously, it changed around a bit. I thought Jose Sarr looked fine, looked pretty good on the ball. Came off his line a lot more than we'd expect from Rui Patricio. Gerson Mosquera made his debut. Looked erratic, not in a bad way. You always need like an aggressive centre back. It's normally what Roman Sace does, right? And I guess Gerson's in that kind of role. But considering it's his first proper senior game and he's playing against a pretty good La Liga side, that's only encouraging. And there was clear improvements in the side. I thought obviously Aït-Nouri came off late, but I thought he was probably our best player again. It's interesting that he keeps playing higher up the pitch. I assume that's not what he'll do long term, but it's kind of what Wolves fans wanted to see with Ruben Vinagre, but Nuno never really did. Maybe Aït-Nouri is kind of just seen as the backup winger, but it'd be interesting to see if that's something that kind of persists more, long term. One thing from the first half as well, by the way, I thought it was the most typical Raul Jimenez performance, and I think a lot of us were worried going into next season, being like, is it going to be the same Raul Jimenez, blah, blah, blah. He looks fine. He looks exactly like the Raul Jimenez we all know and love, and I think that's giving me a bit more confidence this season. And, him and Trincao aren't really linking up yet, but that's okay. He kind of looks a bit off it to me, Trincao. He kind of probably taken a few too many touches. He's probably just used to being at Barcelona where no one really presses him. That's not going to be the case at Wolves. He probably have to move a bit quicker, but I'm sure he'll adapt. And it was weird that Cutrone scored. I don't hate Patrick Cutrone as much as Wolves were. Last season he only played a combined 400 minutes, and he's such a hard player to judge because obviously he's such a hard worker. To have 25 pressures in per 90 is ridiculous. Like, that's genuinely one of the best in the world, and you can never fault him for that. And he clearly is an all right finisher. But personally, if you said to me, would I rather have Martin Braithwaite or Patrick Cutrone as my third choice striker, I'd rather have Patrick Cutrone. And it would be, obviously, put that thing on Instagram recently about with his agent, which I think annoyed a lot of Wolves fans. But it'd be interesting to see if he stays at the club. I personally would cash in if someone put in an offer. But he's still young. He's still 23. He's younger than someone like Max Kilman, for example. He's only, a year and a half older than Morgan Gibbs White. So there's clearly still a player there. One interesting thing as well is Fabio Silva kind of played off the left. I don't know if that's something that's going to happen long term. Nuno did that as well. And I get that he's quick and he's a bit more physical, but you kind of want to see him playing a bit more central. I thought Luke Cundle had a pretty good game. But yeah, overall I feel like only real positives came out of this game, bar obviously the Willy Bolly injury. Max Kilman as well, I thought had a great game again. I think him and Aït-Nouri have probably been the two standout players from pre-season, personally for me anyway. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about the game. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, peace.